Hi, I'm Victor Lambs, and you're listening to The Secrets of Stargate, where we talk about hidden meanings and deeper layers found in Stargate movies, TV series, and more. And joining me today are Lisa Jones. Hi, Lisa.
Hey, Victor.
And Jeff Haecker. Hi, Jeff.
Hey, Victor.
Today we are discussing the 11th episode of Season 1 of Stargate SG1, Gemini. Stargate Command encounters a replicator version of Samantha Carter, which was created by the Replicator 5th. This Replicator Carter seeks assistance from the SGC, claiming that she wants to be destroyed because she's tired of being manipulated by 5th. Colonel Carter does not agree to destroy her right away. Instead, she wants to learn what makes the Replicator Carter tick. Replicator Carter puts into motion a plot to make herself immune to the disruptor weapon, which O'Neill created previously using the knowledge of the ancients. Playing both sides, or mainly just Carter, against the middle, she orchestrates the destruction of 5th and his Replicator army, while making herself immune to the disruptor weapon. Replicator Carter escapes, vowing to lead the now indestructible Replicator army to victory, leaving Carter back on Earth to study some Replicator dust for clues. Everyone tells Carter that it isn't her fault, but they're lying.
So true.
Sorry, some editorializing in there. What did you think of this episode, Lisa?
Oh gosh, I sometimes I just want to shake Carter and be like, "You're too sweet. Like, stop." Like, she's internalizing all the angst she has over 5th and emotional stuff, and Repli-Carter just really worked her, which to me is like a really fascinating, psychology moment of like nature versus nurture, and like what would happen if you had encountered yourself and they know all your deepest, darkest insecurities and fears and then used it against you and then double played you. And so I kind of Amanda Tapping was excellent. I liked it. I think Teal'c was the true failure in this episode.
Mm-hmm. Well, how about you, Jeff? What did you think?
Yeah, I like this one. I mean, I'm pretty easy to please. I think I've said I've liked every Stargate episode I've been on with y'all. But yeah, I mean, this one, I like it because you finally get some moral ramifications of their actions, because I think that's something y'all have talked about before. Is it's like they leave a planet behind and you never hear about it again and what happened. But this is the time you actually do hear about it, because it will have big implications for this season. So I like it. I like that aspect of it, but it is kind of like you said, like, yeah, Teal'c's just standing there menacing the whole time with the gun, and it's like he probably should just should have used it earlier in the episode. And it's funny how Carter is the one blaming herself, but O'Neill ordered her to betray 5th. So I mean, it's kind of like O'Neill doesn't seem to be struggling with any guilt over it. Or he could have said, I ordered you to leave 5th behind or whatever. They could have thrown that line in there and kind of absolve Carter a little bit. But yeah, overall, this one's good enough. And I mean, it kind of is the big setup for the rest of the season, where it's like there's kind of 2 season finales of this season. So it's kind of sets up the first season finale before we get to Mobius, because that's kind of its own thing. But yeah, overall, I enjoy it, well enough, but there's better things to come with this story.
Yeah, I did not like this episode. And I mean, there's a lot of reasons, but the first is it was just really boring, and it kind of sets a precedent for, we'll see this a lot in SG1 seasons 9 and 10, where not much happens in an episode. They just introduce something in the first one, and then they just kind of run out the clock until something happens in the last 30 seconds that leads into another episode, like a few episodes later. So, in this episode, it's like, oh, Repli-Carter's back. Wow. And she's talking about how 5th is going to come and attack our galaxy. That's, she just destroyed 5th's fleet. So that's not going to happen, and it's just a cascade. And we're supposed to believe that Carter is like the smartest woman in the world, but she acts like the dumbest person in the world in this episode. No offense. Yeah, and it is funny, like you were talking about how Teal'c should have just like shot Replicator Carter, and even on the commentary, it wasn't the writer, which was Peter DeLuise. It was the director William Waring, and then the director of photography And at one point they were watching it, and Teal'c had the disruptor on. It's like, oh, can you imagine if Teal'c shot her now? How much money we would have saved on the budget? So even the director was commenting on how like Teal'c should have shot her, at some point. But yeah, and there's a lot of like absolving Carter of guilt in this, which shouldn't have happened because Carter and Teal'c are both basically responsible for, they don't know the ramifications, but for making the replicators immune to the only weapon they had against them. So
yeah,
this is,
real failure of, judgment.
Which wouldn't be so bad, except it's the second episode in a row where SG1 has let the bad guys escape with like a genocidal weapon, basically. And through unforced errors, basically. They had the enemy dead to rights, but they let them go, basically. So yeah, it's very unsatisfying dramatically.
Yeah, they probably shouldn't have let Repli-Carter onto the Alpha site. They probably should have they probably should have taken her, to some other location with, the testing equipment and a computer they needed or something.
Yeah.
Or just not let her stick her hand into the monitor, but like into the computer and access all this. Like, here's all of our secrets about the weapon. Like, there were so many things, but honestly, I blame Teal'c because when Jack pulls him aside privately on speakerphone and says, how's she really doing? Like, is she letting her personal stuff? And he's like, no. Really?
He's like, he's more like, no.
Well, he didn't want to say anything because then that would rob him of the chance to fly the F302 or the 303 up to drop off the satellite, which is why is Teal'c the pilot of the...
And why could the Asgard not just beam that right into the spot?
I think that like they were on a different planet and they had to send it through the gate for some reason rather than sending a ship there, dropping it off. And that whole Asgard thing was just really weird too.
It would have been better if Thor had just popped up. You know what I mean?
Yeah. If Thor had said like, I have some concerns with like how you're handling this replicator here. Basically, they're all evil, and we've sworn to wipe them out on sight, and you are basically like mollycoddling one. So, yeah.
Yeah. And so Carter was just basically kidnapped and tortured by Fifth. And that was, 4 months ago in their timeline. So 4 months ago, Carter has been like mentally tortured by this guy. And then we're going to put her in charge of deciding...
Well,
no.
and even if you look back at some of the Quantum Mirror episodes where Carter has encountered, Mirror Universe Carter, she's never been this understanding to the other Carters. She's been like,
no.
Yeah.
Second season, point of view. She was mean.
Yeah. Like, you stay away from Jack, you hussy.
And this one used her emotion for Jack against her.
Yeah.
We don't know if what Repli-Carter showed her in whoever's mind it was, which again, another hiccup, but like, we don't know if that was real or not. We don't know if Repli-Carter was showing her what she needed to show her to get her on her side or what, but it's the whole like, shoot Daniel, no problem. No emotion. It was fine. Right. But go to shoot Jack and it's like, oh no, not Jack, and then real Carter's like, oh no. And then,
And even when they did that scene, the director said like, oh yeah, we do a lot of these gate room shootouts, like where the entire cast gets wiped out, but it's okay because it's a dream or they're robots or something. Yeah.
Yeah. When Repli-Carter sticks her hand into regular Carter, and how does that? I mean, how did they not immediately pull her from duty? Pull Carter like you've been compromised. I mean, and they're compromised all the time. I mean, the show probably wouldn't happen without all these these kind of things happening. But it's like you feel like you think they would have protocols, especially after she'd already been in this scenario twice with replicators, with the when she was captured by Fifth, and then even the first time when they were all captured on that time dilated planet. It's like. Probably should have learned our lesson that we don't want to let these things inside our heads, or and she volunteered to do it.
I really feel sorry for the people who work at the Alpha site because they're doing a good job. they're keeping their base going, and then a member of SG1 shows up and everything immediately like just all goes pear-shaped. So I really feel bad for the people at the Alpha site because they don't deserve what happens to them.
Yeah, there's this, I think it's a season 9 or 10 episode, the bug one. If I remember that one where... No,
I don't.
I don't know. I can't remember if it's the Alpha site or it might be, that might be the beta site at that point if they have a beta site. But yeah, there's an episode. But yeah, you're right. The Alpha site, nothing as your backup. A lot of bad things happen there.
I guess
it's been destroyed a few times too.
Yeah, they've relocated it.
Yeah.
You should just call it the sacrificial lamb site or something.
Could somebody on that site not have like dialed up O'Neill, I guess on the Stargate and been like, dude, you'd never guess what's really going on here.
Yeah.
No, but I loved Amanda Tapping, the way she was able to portray both of them. And she's not acting against each other face to face. Obviously, there's not two of her, but she really did a great job doing this. And I think this is probably really hard to do.
I don't know. I have trouble like telling people apart if they're not wearing like different like outfits or like wildly different hairstyles. So I think they shouldn't have put them both like in neutral muted tones. Like one of them should have been wearing like a bright orange jumpsuit or something. So I could have told them apart more easily. But yeah, I mean, on the commentary, they were talking about like how much extra time it took to do the scenes where they actually appeared together. So if you notice, there's not a lot of scenes where they're both on the screen at the same time. They start off and they're talking through a video link, and then they do like other kinds of, tricks to get around it, like whip panning and, cutting in the middle of the pan to the other, side of things. But, yeah, I mean, we'll see in Atlantis in a few seasons, a really good example of kind of using the same actor in two different roles. And it looks a lot more convincing there than it does here.
Yeah. They even had this, I noticed, same makeup, almost the same hairstyle.
Yeah.
Yeah. I was wondering, like, why didn't they have her slick her hair back like when she was first created? Not like obviously how she was looking there, but they could have just done done something. But I guess it's probably easier to just say, here, throw on a jacket and your replica, or throw, your Repli-Carter with the black shirt. Now throw on a jacket and your regular Carter.
Right.
Yeah, and I guess I did use two like stand-ins for the scenes where they're like shooting over a soldier. Like Amanda Tapping's regular stand-in does really good with like the line readings and stuff. But a different stand-in has more of her jawline. So when they needed to shoot like over the shoulder and like in the foreground, there's like blurry, that's the stand-in with the really good jawline. But behind her is the actual stand-in who is reading the lines because she has more of the delivery and the timing. So Amanda Tapping can play off that. So
wow.
Yeah.
I never thought about that.
Yeah.
But Repli-Carter got to kick everyone's butts there at the end.
Yeah, she did.
That had to have been fun.
Yeah, only they set up in the flashback or whatever, the hallucination that like when she gets shot, she does like the T-1000 like liquid metal thing, when the bullets hit her. And then like in the shootout in the Alpha site, they don't show that at all. Like
figured they ran out of money.
Yeah, like the bullets just don't hit her or something.
They just showed her from like here up, and they're riddling her body, but they don't,
Yeah. Yeah, so much of that was just like, ugh. And so the whole plot revolves around Repli-Carter telling Carter, yeah, Fifth has become immune to your disruptor weapon, but if I jack into Fifth's network, I can figure out what the cipher is that makes him immune. So give me all your schematics for the for the disruptor weapon, and I'll be able to do that. And Carter's like, oh, okay.
Okay.
And yeah. And so then she communicates with Fifth and says, yeah, Center Fleet, everything's fine. And then everything's not fine for Fifth because his fleet is dissolved because Replicator Carter doesn't, fix him against the weapon. But then at the end, it's really confusing at the end, or at least it was to me, like, she sticks her hand into the computer monitor, and even my like 11-year-old son was like, the monitor has no data connection to the actual computer. He actually said it in that voice. And I was like, okay, yeah, no, it doesn't. And then later on, she sticks her hand into the keyboard and you're like, whatever. And and is able to like download the schematics to the weapon and make herself immune.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, and then the whole thing with like launching the satellite, it was just really a lot of unnecessary stuff. And then she finds out that Carter has rigged the Naquita generators to blow up the base, but that turns out to not be an issue at all because she immediately deactivates them. And then they try to lock out the downlink computers, but she activates the downlink computers despite the fact that there's a DHD right there in the room that she could have just like to activate the gate. So it's, I don't know. To me, this was just a mess, like on many levels.
It's funny because when I was watching it, I remembered there was a twist. I remember that somebody was not telling, that I knew that was happening. I couldn't remember, but I couldn't remember what it was. I couldn't remember that it was evil Repli-Carter and she was against regular Carter and Fifth. That's what I couldn't remember. So I actually really enjoyed watching it because I knew it was coming. I knew somebody wasn't telling the truth, but I couldn't remember what it was. And then I'm just surprised that Teal'c stood by so much. And then Daniel's non-existent. And Jack's not really checking in. And it was really Amanda tapping. And like I said, she did fabulous. I loved it. And I did like thinking about, okay, if alternate me shows up,
like
she's
instant
out to
death.
Get me.
Like if a robot shows up wearing my face, instant deactivation, like no question. I don't know why you're here. I don't know who made you, but you're like,
you're the Jack O'Neill version, right? Like Jack O'Neill's like not a person, not a human. Shoot it.
Yeah.
I have no guilt on lying to Fifth because again, not a human, not a person.
Well, I mean, think about it too. It's like what possible reason would someone have for creating a robot double of you and none of them are good?
What's Dewey?
Like, unless it's like Last Starfighter and it's there to like live your life while you're like, out starfighting or whatever. But I don't know.
Well, that's what you didn't know. I mean, I guess first time around, you're thinking, is Repli-Carter going to switch places with her? She'll like knock her out and Teal'c's going to stand by and watch, or like, what's going to happen here? So I liked, we hadn't seen Amanda Tapping really get to play evil. So that was kind of nice to have that twist. Kind of like we saw Daniel Jackson with the Harcesis child dream sequence where he's like nuking the whole world. Remember that?
Yeah, I do. That was, I like that one.
Yeah. And we kind of liked seeing evil Daniel. So I kind of liked seeing evil Carter because real Carter didn't see it coming at all. She's like, what?
They could have. Oh, sorry. I'll say they could have done this as like a multi-season or multi-episode arc where the real Carter is replaced and we don't know, and you don't find out until later on that, things have happened. So that could have been, they could have really done more with that, or at least made it, another episode or two, and then they have to go on a mission to save Carter or something. But, this one, just watching Teal'c the whole, like, does he speak more than like 2 lines? He's just standing there with the ARG the whole time, and then he gets to fly the F-302 to drop off the satellite. So I guess that's his big moment there.
Well, he was really smart in what he chose to wear for the Alpha site because he wore a sleeveless shirt.
Oh yeah.
So holding that, Christopher Judge got to show off his own guns for like most of the episode, which I'm not opposed to.
Well, if it was Daniel, he would have been doing that. But we know Christopher Judge is a rough guy. So
Michael Shanks would have been like pointing it out,
moving it around.
Well, and then at one point, like Teal'c hands the weapon off to like a sergeant, or something, and I'm like, just do it, just like for your country, for the universe, just do it. Your finger slipped, no one will blame you. Just like, oh, she made a weird move or something, and then
exactly.
Either they court martial you or
other people kept. Was it regular Carter kept like standing in front of it or whatever? I'm like, it ain't gonna hurt her. Just shoot it.
No, it's just gonna like pass around or something. And
but then when they were like, Repli-Carter was on the computer and they were testing the device against something so she could collect data. Remember?
Oh yeah, that little satellite dish or whatever.
Yeah. And I'm like, how far away was that from Repli-Carter? Like, did you have to have a direct hit? Because
that was another. Yeah, I mean, a lot of that was confusing, but
She
I
didn't
chalk
even
it up to
flinch.
like no. Yeah, and then they just like write Fifth out, like, you know, he doesn't really even do anything in this episode.
Mm-mm.
So
That's okay. He was
Yeah.
never a favorite. I think we can go back and listen to those episodes. Like, I always found him irritating
Yeah.
and weird.
But yeah, to me, it was very clear. Like they had a point A at the beginning and a point B they wanted to get to at the end. And then the middle part was just kind of like filler to get there.
Yeah.
And we'll see this more and more as we go into season 10 and stuff. But
yeah, I still liked it though.
yeah.
I still like.
I like that
it.
we got to see a lot of the Alpha site, even though if what we saw didn't make any sense. But
yeah, this season has been big on the Alpha side. I had forgotten there were multiple episodes that actually you're there, and I don't know that we see much more of it in this season. We might see some of it, or like I said, the beta site in the 9th and 10th. But I guess they were like, we've talked about the Alpha site forever, and now we actually need to show it at some point, and it's been built into like not just, you know, a little camp like it was, or I guess it wasn't the Alpha site in the season 7 Tok'ra Jaffa episode, but they actually have shown it built up, and you're like, how long did this, like, when did they start construction on this base? And I mean, I guess it looks like they built it into a mountain too, so I guess they have to find a planet where there's a Stargate close to a mountain. And
well, the other thing too is like they show the outside. Okay, the F-302s aside, like they show these two big Army, you know, pickup trucks, 5-ton pickups or whatever, outside the Alpha site. I'm wondering, like, how did they get there? Did they like lower them down into Cheyenne Mountain and then like drive them through the Stargate, and they're like scraping on either side or something? Or like, if the Prometheus couldn't fly them to another planet and send them through the Stargate, or did they like disassemble them and then reassemble them at the Alpha site? Maybe that's what they did. But it's just funny that they have like the external shots and these two huge trucks there that
How'd they get the X30 whatever's there?
Yeah, the 302s.
They don't fit through the gate, do they?
No, and they couldn't fly there.
Did they have
hyperdrives
drives at that point, or were they not functional yet?
Yeah, and so that's kind of like where if the Prometheus had been active, that would have explained like, oh yeah, we have like 8 hangar bays or whatever, we can fly them there, but they haven't been able to do that. So,
well, the one time we see Daniel, besides getting shot again, so whoever's keeping a tally, I know at least one of our listeners is keeping a tally how many times Daniel's died. Does this count? If it's a dream, I don't know, but add that to the list with an asterisk.
Well, and it's like, it's not even, nobody thinks it's like, oh my gosh, like they're really, it's not even a fake out. It's just like, oh yeah, this is part of the vision. Oh, I guess we're doing this whole thing. Oh, I guess O'Neill's dead. That was unpredicted.
Well, the only time we see Daniel in the beginning, it's him and Carter going back and forth about Prometheus. And so I assume that is setting up for next week's episode, the next episode.
Yeah.
Which is Prometheus Unbound, right?
Right.
Yeah.
Which is him on Prometheus. So
yeah,
is that where he went? Is that overlapping this episode? Is that where he went?
Yeah. I think that's the implication. Yeah. They said in the commentary, like, this gets Daniel out of the episode in the first, few minutes and stuff. So yeah, I didn't remember him going to Pegasus. And so I think Prometheus Unbound is what happens that prevents him.
Well, and they were just testing the hyperdrive, the Asgard hyperdrive too. They weren't, if it wasn't functional, they wouldn't have been able to get all the way to, and they hadn't found the, spoilers for the end. They hadn't found the ZPM yet. So it was hard to, the flight to Pegasus would have taken a long time. So, and at this point they've already been also building the off screen, or I don't know if they've talked about it before, but they've been at least off screen by the end of the season. The Daedalus will have been built and sent to Pegasus. So I guess they're kind of, they're like in the building up to that, and that's kind of what that was referring to. And poor Daniel I forgot even in this season, he tries to get to Atlantis again, and he just can never get there.
Yeah.
He does eventually, but it takes him a while.
Yeah.
I could just see O'Neill when Carter was saying how she asked to go, and then she clarifies, no, I asked for all 3 of us to go. And I can't remember what General O'Neill's response was, but it was another O'Neillism to say, no, of course not.
Yeah.
You can't go. So, and that was good when the Repli-Carter calls in
Oh, yeah.
through the gate. And he's
The
like,
shipping moment.
we already have one of those.
Yeah. Where he says like 2 Carters and he says if only or something.
Yeah, that's right. And of course, he gives a little look, and she gives a little look, and that was funny.
Yeah, there's a little Groucho Marx cigar thing there.
Yeah.
If only. Yeah, but
that was good. So this is the 4th time Carter's interacted with herself, a version of herself.
Oh, is it?
That more than anyone else? Because we got point
I think
of
so.
view, and then we had both the Tin Man and the second Tin Man. Double jeopardy, right?
Yeah, I think so.
So she won up of the rest of them?
I think so. Yeah, I can't. Yeah, I mean, because the other ones only had like the 2 Tin Man episodes.
Yeah, because in point
Daniel
of view,
may have had. Yeah,
Teal'c. No, when did Teal'c interact with himself?
and Daniel was already dead
shot
in
him,
the
remember?
mirror. Yeah, that's right.
I can't remember what episode that was.
And Jack interacted with his younger self in
True.
that season
that's
7
Fragile
episode. If we count that.
Mm-hmm. That's true.
So they may be tied, but
Yeah, they should be used to it by now.
yeah. But no, yeah. If you see a robot double of yourself, kill on sight. That's my advice.
Well, remember that's Teal'c when he interacted with the one with like the ponytail and the whatever, and he said,
Yeah.
This reality is the only reality that matters.
Yeah.
Like he had no qualms about just shooting himself.
Yeah.
But he couldn't shoot Repli-Carter. Come on.
Yeah, I know. It's yeah, he's gotten a little soft in his old age.
It's there.
It's Ryak's married and he's wondering about grandkids and stuff. And I don't know. Any other thoughts on this one?
No, just at the end where Carter's like, it's my fault. And they're like, no.
No, it's okay.
No, it totally, like, it totally was. Like, seriously, you do not get off.
And she's like poking at like the dust. It's like, I know I can make this work somehow. Which we almost thought we were going to get another Kowalski moment because like Repli-Carter is like hanging out of the gate and Teal'c's pulling her in and out. And they're like, turn off the gate. And everybody's like, gate? What?
How do
I
you
don't
do
know.
that?
What button does that? And then like Carter just says, okay, I'll do it for you. And just like disconnects her arm. And
well, they did say that she Repli-Carter had like locked out the dialing computer or something.
Well, wasn't there like the big
DHD.
SGC? There's the big cable on the wall, or the like emergency switch, or they
don't have an iris, or I know.
I don't know.
Yeah.
I was wondering too, because if the Alpha site has a DHD, why aren't they using that, or why aren't they?
No.
Why didn't they ship it back to Earth and let Earth have the DHD? I don't know if it's only can work on certain gates or something, but like they could have found maybe that's they just want to keep the spinning gate as the prop, and so they don't do that. But
yeah, maybe I think that was it. Yeah,
that's a good question.
And they can say Chevron 1 encoded.
Yeah,
Walter. What would Walter do if he couldn't do that?
Walter 2. Yeah.
Oh, I saw on one of the sites I was looking at, and they gave Siler a first name. Do we know that Siler has a first name?
Oh, I don't know that we did. What was his?
It's
Sylvester. Yeah, I know his name is Sylvester, but maybe this is the first time we. This is the first time we see it.
I remember he had a name. Sergeant Sylvester Siler. That's a tongue twister.
Yeah, and it's again because Dan Shea has like difficulty pronouncing S's.
Oh, okay.
So they wanted to give his character name as many S's as possible.
I remember we've talked about that. So maybe I did know it was Sylvester Siler.
Yeah.
That's funny.
Yeah. So any other thoughts about this one?
No, I think we did okay.
Yeah, I think so.
Nothing here other than any good alternate titles.
In French we get vulnerable, or which is not French, but vulnerable. And in Italian, gemelle, which is twin. So we get vulnerable and twin. And we do have some feedback. Keep the feedback coming here. Varyar77 on YouTube writes on our episode for Sacrifices, our recent episode, the one where we see the return of the people and the reactor. What do they call it? The female Jaffa.
The Hawktail.
Hawktail.
Yeah, the big
Ryak's
fat Jaffa wedding.
Yeah.
And then Ryak, my big fat Jaffa wedding, yes. The Barkyar 77 writes, this was another fun episode and a decent send-off for Ryak. I forgot about the horse. Guess I'll have to rewatch the best of SG1 soon. And yes, it is worth watching just to see the horse in the SGC there.
I had fun listening to y'all's episode because I wasn't here. I was on vacation, but I had fun listening to y'all talk about the horse.
Still wish they would have rode it through the gate or something. Or
yeah, like a cavalry charge through the gate. That would be cool to see at some point. As you mentioned, Jeff. Anyways, we'd like to take a moment to thank our patrons who make it possible for us to create the Secrets of Stargate, including Joseph, Michelle L., Caitlin F., Matthew D., and Peter E. Their generous donations at sqpn.com/give make it possible for us to continue the Secrets of Stargate and all the shows at StarQuest. And you can join them by visiting sqpn.com/give. Please be sure to follow the show on Apple Podcasts, TuneIn, Spotify, iHeartRadio, or find our video versions at youtube.com/StarQuestMedia or on Spotify. And to find previous episodes of Secret of Stargate and to send feedback, please visit sqpn.com/Stargate. You can email us at stargate@sqpn.com or follow StarQuest on social media at facebook.com/StarQuestMedia or on Twitter at SQPN. And we will be back next time with the next episode of Stargate Atlantis VI. Until then, Lisa Jones, thank you for joining us and sharing the secrets of Stargate.
Thanks, Victor.
And thank you, Jeff Haecker.
Thanks, Victor.
And once again, I'm Victor Lanz. Thank you for listening to the Secrets of Stargate on StarQuest. And remember, send Malp.
Anyway, I'm sorry, but that just happens to be how I feel about it. What do you think?